All right, so today we're going to be looking at teen journaling.
Okay.
And we're going to be talking about those journals from Lestallion,
Yes.
the ones with like the really nice faux leather covers.
Right.
They look really cool.
Yeah,
But it turns out that there's a lot more to those journals than just the nice design.
absolutely.
We're going to find out why journaling is such a good tool for teens, and it's not just about writing down frustration.
Yeah, it goes way beyond that.
So,
These journals are designed in a way that makes them especially useful for teens.
right.
But before we get into the specifics of the journals,
Yeah.
maybe we should zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
So, adolescence is a time with a huge amount of growth and change.
Right.
But with all that change comes some unique challenges.
I can imagine.
Imagine, being a teenager and trying to deal with all of these emotions and social pressures
Yeah.
and trying to figure out who you are all at the same time.
Yeah. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while you're riding a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's just a lot to deal with all at once.
Totally.
I remember when my nephew Alex was about 14, he was going through something similar.
Oh, yeah.
He was having a tough time fitting in at school. His grades were slipping. He just seemed kind of lost. And it was really hard to see him struggling like that.
Yeah, and that feeling of being overwhelmed is really common for teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
They're dealing with all these new experiences and expectations.
Right.
And their brains are still developing all of the tools that they need to handle all of that.
So that's where journaling comes in.
Exactly.
Gives them a safe space to sort of process all those emotions.
Yes, it's a place to just untangle their thoughts and start making sense of everything.
So it's kind of like having a private conversation with yourself, but on paper.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that the way a journal is designed
Okay.
can actually make a difference in how well that works.
Real?
So for example, Lestallion's journals, they have numbered pages and a table of contents.
Okay.
Now you might think that's not a big deal,
Mhm.
but for a teenager who's feeling lost and overwhelmed, having that structure can actually make journaling seem a lot less intimidating.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I know that, even for me, when I'm feeling stressed, just organizing my desk can make me feel a lot more in control.
Oh, for sure.
If I can create a sense of order in my physical space,
Right.
it kind of helps to calm the chaos in my mind.
Yeah, totally. And that feeling of control is especially important for teens.
Yeah, because they're dealing with so much uncertainty already.
Absolutely.
So the design of the journal helps with organization and makes it easier to get started. But how does journaling actually help teens work through difficult emotions?
Well, there's actually a really fascinating neurological process that happens when you write about your feelings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so when you put your feelings into words, you activate the prefrontal cortex.
And that's the part of the brain that's responsible for.
It's the part of your brain that's in charge of planning and decision-making,
Oh, okay.
and also emotional regulation.
Wow. So it's like you're literally training your brain to handle those big feelings better.
Exactly. It's like taking your emotions to the gym.
I love that.
By writing about your feelings, you're building up your mental muscles to manage stress and difficult situations.
All right.
And that helps you develop a much stronger sense of self-awareness.
I could see how that would be so empowering for teenagers,
Yeah.
especially since they're still trying to figure out who they are and where they fit in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when my daughter was about 13, she started keeping a journal.
Oh,
I didn't want
okay.
to pry or anything,
Yeah.
but I did notice a change in her.
Oh, really?
She seemed calmer, more confident, and she was able to talk about her feelings more clearly.
That's great.
I think the journal gave her the space to work through things on her own terms.
That makes sense. And even that smooth, high-quality paper that Lestallion uses in their journals, it really, invites you to express yourself freely without worrying about being judged.
Right.
There's no pressure to make it perfect.
To get it out.
Exactly. You just get it out. And that can be so freeing, just to release all those pent-up emotions.
Okay.
It's like you're clearing out all the clutter in your mind to make space for new perspectives and new insights.
Those journals are like little portable therapists.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
They provide a safe space for teenagers to explore their inner world.
Yeah.
And they help them develop those emotional intelligence skills that are so important.
So we've talked about the structure of the journals and how they help with emotions.
Yeah.
But what about the content? What are teens actually writing in these journals?
That's a good question. It really varies from teen to teen.
Yeah.
Some teens might use their journals to vent about, a fight with a friend or something like that.
Yeah.
Others might use it to process anxieties about school or the future. And then there are some who will fill pages with poems or song lyrics, or even like create their own fictional
Oh,
worlds.
wow. So it's not just about like serious stuff. It can be creative too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that creative outlet is so important for teenagers.
I bet.
It lets them tap into their imaginations and try out different ways of expressing themselves. And
Hmm.
they can even discover hidden talents.
I love it.
I've seen teenagers who really struggle to communicate verbally,
Yeah.
but when they're given a chance to express themselves through writing or drawing or even like collage in their journals,
Yeah.
they just blossom.
That's amazing. And it makes me think about this study I read where researchers found that expressive writing, like journaling,
Okay.
can actually reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression.
Really?
Yeah, they think it's because writing helps us make sense of our experiences and reframe negative thoughts.
Right.
And it also helps us gain a sense of control over our emotions.
That makes a lot of sense because it's like you're taking all these messy thoughts and feelings
Mm,
and you're putting them down on paper in a way that you can understand.
right.
That process of organizing your experiences can be so therapeutic.
Yeah.
It allows you to step back and gain some perspective.
Okay.
And you can even start to challenge those negative thought patterns that might be holding you back.
So it's like you become the editor of your own story.
Exactly. And speaking of stories, Lestallion has this really interesting feature in their journals.
Oh, yeah.
There's a section dedicated to goal setting and tracking progress.
Okay.
It encourages teens to think about what they want to achieve, break down their goals into smaller steps,
Right.
and then use the journal to keep track of their progress.
I love that.
It's a great way to build a sense of agency and accomplishment.
That reminds me of my friend's daughter, Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
She was super shy and really struggled with public speaking,
Oh, no.
but she loved to write.
Okay.
So she started using her Lestallion journal to write down all her anxieties about speaking up in class.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then she started using the journal to actually practice her presentations.
Oh, wow.
She would write down her talking points
Mm,
and even visualize herself giving the speech confidently.
that's awesome.
It was incredible to see her transformation. She went from being terrified to speak in front of the class to leading group projects
Wow.
and even joining the debate team.
That's amazing. And it's a perfect example of how journaling can help teens build confidence and that belief in their ability to succeed.
Totally. So it's not just about dealing with the past
Yeah.
or venting frustrations.
Right.
It's also about looking ahead and figuring out how to create the life you want.
Exactly. It's about giving teens the power to shape their own lives.
I like that. And it seems like the physical journal itself plays a role in that process.
Oh, for sure.
I know some people prefer digital journaling,
Yeah.
but there's something about physically writing things down that feels more real somehow.
I agree. And for teenagers who are constantly bombarded with digital distractions, having a physical journal can be a great way to disconnect from all that noise and reconnect with themselves.
Like creating a sacred space for self-reflection.
Exactly. And, Lestallion's journals,
Yeah.
with those beautiful covers and high-quality paper,
Right.
they really enhance that experience.
Yeah, it's like they're inviting you to slow down, savor the moment, and really connect with your thoughts and feelings.
Totally. And even those little details,
Okay.
like the ribbon bookmark and the back pocket for keepsakes,
I love those.
they add a personal touch that makes the journal even more special.
So we've covered the emotional benefits, the creative outlet, goal setting,
Yeah.
and even the importance of the physical journal itself.
Right.
But how does all of this connect to the bigger picture of how teenagers grow and develop?
Well, on a cognitive level, journaling helps to strengthen those critical thinking skills.
Okay.
It encourages teens to analyze their experiences, identify patterns, and draw conclusions.
That makes sense.
And it also helps them develop self-awareness, which is essential for making good choices
Right.
and building strong relationships.
So it's not just about getting things off your chest. It's about learning how to understand yourself and the world around you.
Exactly. And those insights can be really valuable as teens navigate the challenges of growing up.
It makes me wonder about the role of parents and teachers in encouraging teens to journal. How can we support them in this process without, being intrusive or pushy?
That's a great question, and I think it's important to remember that journaling is a deeply personal practice.
Okay.
It should never feel like a chore or an obligation.
Right.
The key is to create a supportive environment where teens feel safe to express themselves without feeling judged or criticized.
So leading by example.
Yeah,
Maybe sharing our own experiences with journaling or talking about the benefits in a non-judgmental way.
Exactly. And it's not about telling them what to write about or how often to do it.
Right.
It's about giving them the tools and the space they need to explore their own inner world at their own pace.
It's like planting a seed and trusting that it will grow in its own time.
Beautiful analogy.
And speaking of growth, I'm really interested in exploring the social and emotional impact of teen journaling.
Okay.
We touched on this a little bit earlier, but I think it deserves a closer look.
Sure.
We talk a lot about the challenges of social media and technology for teens, but it seems like journaling could actually be a really good way to deal with some of those pressures.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, in a world where everything is so curated and filtered,
Hmm.
journaling offers a space for teens to be real and authentic, to be vulnerable and messy.
Right.
It's a reminder that it's okay to not have it all figured out, to have doubts and fears and insecurities.
Yeah, it's like giving them permission to just be human, to embrace all of their emotions without feeling like they have to put on a perfect face for the world.
Exactly. And that self-acceptance can be incredibly freeing. And it can also help teens develop more empathy and compassion for
Well,
others.
that's interesting. How so?
Well, when you're comfortable with your own imperfections, you're more likely to be accepting of the imperfections of others.
That makes sense. It's like journaling creates this ripple effect that starts with the individual, but then extends outwards to their relationships and even how they interact with the world.
Exactly. And there's actually research that backs this up. A study in the Journal of Adolescence found that teens who journal regularly reported feeling more connected to their peers, more understanding of others' perspectives, and even more willing to help people in need.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So journaling doesn't just help teens understand themselves better, it also helps them become more engaged and compassionate members of their community.
Yeah, it really is a beautiful thing to see. And I think it speaks to the power of self-reflection to create positive change in the world.
It makes me think about the role of storytelling in all of this. We've talked about journaling as a form of self-expression, but it's also a way for teens to create and share their own personal narratives.
Absolutely. And those stories can be incredibly powerful. They can help teens connect with other people who are going through similar things. They can challenge stereotypes and even inspire others to take action.
I remember hearing a story about a young woman who started a blog where she shared her experiences with anxiety and depression.
Oh, wow.
Her honesty and vulnerability really resonated with thousands of readers, and it led to this whole online community where people could share their stories and support each other.
That's a perfect example of how journaling can break down stigma and create a sense of belonging. It's like all these individual stories come together to create this tapestry of shared human experience.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So to kind of sum everything up, it seems like teen journaling is a lot more than just a trend or a fad.
Hmm.
It's a really powerful tool for self-discovery, emotional growth,
Mm.
creative expression, and even social change.
Couldn't agree more. It's a gift that we can give to ourselves and to the young people in our lives.
And if you're looking for a journal that's specifically designed to support this journey, I highly recommend checking out Lestallion. Their journals are not only beautiful, but they're also created with a deep understanding of what makes journaling work for teens.
And remember, the most important thing is to encourage teens to find a journaling practice that feels right for them, whether it's daily reflections, creative writing prompts, or just a place to write down their thoughts and feelings. The key is to make it personal and meaningful.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of teen journaling, I want to leave you with this question. What story are you waiting to tell, and how can journaling help you unlock that narrative and share it with the world?
That's a beautiful question to think about, and I encourage everyone listening to grab a pen, open a journal, and start exploring your own unique story. You never know what you might discover.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep writing, and keep those stories flowing.